everyone, welcome back to the channel and thank you as always for tuning back in. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Layla, the Lenormand reader, and today folks we are doing another pick a card reading. And for today's question, I am really inclined to ask if you should do this thing that you have in mind. Should you go for that trip? Should you undertake this venture? Should you make that move or take that action that you have in mind? So I want you to focus on this specific thing that you're wondering if you should go ahead and do it, and tune in on it for this reading. You see here I've got 4 stones, so we're going to do 4 different readings, but what I'm going to do is a 9x4. So we're going to do 4 times 9 cards per reading, which is going to be a portrait. This means that every single card of the deck is going to figure somewhere in some reading. I'm using one deck. I'm going to divide it into 4, so each pack is going to have 9 cards, and that way we're going to have 4 different portraits. So all of the cards will figure somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and deal out the 4x9 piles right away. As I do that, you might want to tune into your question, tune into the stone. I am going to go over the stones in just a bit. Let's go ahead and deal out this 4x9. Okay, here are our 4 packs of 9 cards each. So let's go over the stones. Our first stone is the Teal. The second one is Angelite. And then the third is Lapis. And finally Brandberg. So I've actually chosen the 4 blues and a purplish stone for this reading, all of them within the same kind of spectrum, within the blue-purple zone. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to tune into your stone, and you will find the timestamps in the description box as usual, and I will see you in your reading. Okay, Teal group, here we are with your portrait. I've got the 9 cards that I initially dealt, and as you know, I'm going to keep them in this order, and let's deal out the portrait. So here we go. Okay, Teal group, I think I have a clear answer for you from this portrait. Should you do this thing that you have in mind? Well, I think you need to wait. You need to wait until you actually do it, because in the process, I think some things will change, and it's possible that you change your mind about it. So with the child at the top of your portrait here, this points to a new beginning. And with the tree in the center of your portrait, this points to growth. But the tree is also about time and patience. It's also a card of solitude and waiting. And so I feel that we get a strong message from it that you need to wait and be patient. We also have the clouds and the whip in your portrait pointing to challenges here. And also with the key, you need to resolve some issues first before you move forward with it. So probably yes, maybe from this column here, there is an indication that you're going to move forward with it. But in general, for the time being, I would say that you need to wait and backtrack a little bit, solve some issues before you decide. So let's go ahead and weave this portrait together. The child, tree, and road is a wonderful combination of a new chapter, something that blooms, a new path that is opening up for you that aligns with your growth and probably a sense of maturity and well-being in general. The road can sometimes be associated with traveling, but I'm not really getting a sense of that from this portrait. It's possible, maybe with the anchor you pick up and go somewhere, but I feel that the main indication coming through the road in this context is mainly about your path and this idea of growing. You know, with the child and tree, we're really getting a sense of a new chapter here. In the second diagonal, we have a really powerful combination. It comes through the key and tree. In my dictionary, the key and tree is a combination of achieving a very important goal. And with the anchor here, we see that you arrive at a goal. So very, very powerful. So I think that is a message that could be telling us that yes, you can pursue this thing, but as we said, there are going to be some issues that need to be ironed out first. But in general, this is a beautiful card of power, growth, empowerment, and achievement. Really, any way you look at this triplet here, it is all powerful and very supportive. The top row is really interesting as well. We have the child and lily, and then the anchor. So the lily here is a bit like the tree. I feel that you're moving into a new phase of growth. The idea of a new life chapter is coming into play. Maybe you have recently achieved some milestones or you're closing off a phase in your life. I'm seeing that it is time to grow into the next phase. And for this, you need to have some strong foundations. So it's possible that the things that you need to iron out are in relation to your foundations. Like, what are you establishing first so that you can actually build on top? So think about this. It's also possible that with the anchor and the tree, actually, you are looking at your sense of rootedness. What are your foundations? Where you call yourself home? Where does it feel for you that it's home, or where you feel like you are stable? So that is also something you want to consider as you move forward into this new chapter. But you do want to prepare yourself to move into this new chapter. I think it's time for growth, and that's what you're preparing for. Now, in the second row, we have the clouds and then the tree and woman. So the clouds and tree is very much about taking a step back for perspective, and then the woman can be a certain relationship you have in your life, a certain person who affects your sense of direction at this time. And you might want to wait for her to come through. Perhaps she is coming back with feedback, or she has some kind of role to play in this. And maybe you are waiting for her to come through. But I have to wonder if the clouds don't suggest some kind of mixed messages, or maybe you're not sure where she stands relative to this, or perhaps you're not sure where you stand relative to her. So with the clouds entry, it's really important to take a step back and to think about things. And if she's here to help you with input or support, maybe she's playing that kind of role in your life, then go ahead and seek her advice, because she's probably going to be supportive. The key, whip, and road is a challenging combination, mainly because of the whip in the middle and after the key. And then there's the road. So it's possible that you're in for a bumpy ride. It's possible that you will need to resolve quite a few problems as you go down that road. So I would say, as much as you can, try to predict or foresee what are the specific issues that you might face. See if you can get support for them. See if you can think about them. And then when you go down that road, prepare for a bit of challenges that you're going to have to meet with. At the same time, the key is a really powerful card. It is the card of problem solving, of intelligence, of insight and brilliance. And we also saw it as part of this very powerful diagonal. So I really think that you are up to the challenges. I think you're going to be able to face them, but I want you to move into this prepared, okay? And if you need to prepare a while longer before you actually move forward, then that's what the reading is telling you. So it looks like it's an action that you want to undertake, but maybe with some adjustment and maybe with additional foresight and planning. That's my suggestion. And at the same time, when you actually move forward, expect that there's going to be a few bumps here and there. And again, you are ready for this. Now, the columns with the child, clouds, and key as the first one on the left. Again, with the cloud, and especially with the key, this is a combination that I read to indicate brainstorming, sitting down and problem solving, like really jotting it down on paper and writing all the possible scenarios that you could go through, just like you would in a strategy session, if you know what I mean, like a strategic planning kind of approach. And with the child here, it has to do with this new beginning that you're undertaking. So definitely this is something that you want to do first. I like the fact that this line is on the left-hand side of the portrait, because I read the portrait as unfolding from left to right, from the earlier parts of the reading to the future-most parts of the reading or the story. And so we see that in the earlier parts, you want to do more planning. More planning is needed, more thinking is needed. I think this is a very clear message coming through your portrait, Teal group, and I want you to take advantage of this before you move forward. Now, the lily, tree, and whip is also a bit challenging. I think these are growing pains. So the lily and tree are both about growth and maturity. Maybe you are struggling with some health matters, maybe you're feeling stressed, but it's also in a more psychological and metaphorical sense, the idea of growing pains. And we see that it T crosses the bottom line. So as you move down this path, you can expect that, as you grow and change and go down this road, you're gonna meet with some challenges. But again, I feel that with this powerful diagonal here and with the tree in the center, I think you have a strong sense of self and a strong sense of who you are. And of course, this is part of the thinking that you're going to put in before you actually move forward. So you're going to be prepared for this. And then finally, we have the anchor, woman, and road. And we see here that you actually go down this path. And again, this woman can be involved in your affairs in any number of ways. She can represent you, but typically I don't read the people cards to represent the readee unless they figure on the first card. The first card is the readee. But in here, it can be the case. You can't dismiss it altogether. There are many possibilities depending on your specifics. But we are seeing here that you do pick up and move down this path, and this woman supports or comes into the picture in one way or another. So to answer the question for you, Teal, as to whether you should do this thing or not, I think the answer is yes, you should do this thing, but it requires more preparation. And at the same time, when you do it, expect a bumpy ride, expect some issues to come up. There is a person that comes into play with this. I think she's generally supportive when we look at the central row and this column here where she figures at the node. I think she seems to be supportive. She is at the diagonal of the whip and at the lily. Maybe she is like a parent or a senior or someone who can support you. Maybe she will pose some challenges in your way, or maybe she will be supportive. I think in all cases, the lessons that will be learned are going to be important, and I think she figures in that as well. So overall, Teal group, focus on your path ahead. Yes, do undertake this new venture, this new goal, or whatever it is you focused on, but step back a little bit for now and do some more planning. And when you feel more ready and more firmly rooted and confident in the path, then go ahead and go for it, move forward in it, keeping in mind that you will probably still face some issues. Still, you would have prepared more for it. So let me know how you like these ideas and these thoughts, Teal group. I'm really looking forward to your comments and your thoughts about my interpretation here. Let me know what this thing is that you're doing and how the portrait aligned with that. I'm really looking forward to your comments. So thanks again for tuning in. I'm looking forward to our next reading together. And until then, take very good care of yourself. Okay, Angelite group, here we are with your cards and your stone. And remember, we are looking at whether or not you should undertake this venture or do this thing that you have in mind. So we've got the cards as we initially dealt them, and I'm just going to deal them out into the portrait for you and see what we get. Oh, Angelite, this is such a curious spread. Look at the snake right in the middle, and also quite a few bright cards around it. So should you do it just from looking at these cards? I have to wonder. I think you need to be really careful. This can include a trap or involve more elements that you're not necessarily aware of right now. I think you need to be a bit more cautious. And also, the snake is typically associated with turning away or moving about in a certain way. I think that because of the very positive cards that are coming here, and really the mountain and snake is what's speaking to me, and we'll get to this, is that you're going to need to take the indirect route in order to achieve this thing. So it's very possible that yes, with all of these bright cards, you need to pursue this, but the way you want to pursue this, the way you are thinking of pursuing it might not be the right way. You're going to need a more roundabout, more indirect way to achieve this. So let's go ahead and weave the lines of your portrait. We have the dog as your cover card. So this is the card of friends and friendships. Maybe this is about a certain relationship, but the idea is that you want to try to maintain a friendly attitude. And I would say because of the snake, which is, not transparent and usually two-faced, you want to maintain an appearance of friendliness and just keep your plan to yourself. So that's another key element that comes through the snake, is the idea of silence. Keep it to yourself, and it's right in the center of your portrait. So heed the warning, Angelite group. We also have the house on the other side of the snake. It's really possible that there are some seriously tricky characters in this environment where you're operating, and you need to play it smart, and you need to be really, really diplomatic. So this is a first indication that is coming through. If you want to achieve this goal, and I think probably you will, you are going to need to play it smart, to play it cool, to be nice and all of that stuff. The bear, snake, and book. So this, I think, is an important secret or some important information that you need to come through probably before you move forward with that. So again, this idea of using the indirect route to achieve this goal is coming through here with the idea that you first need to find something out. And with the bear, this can refer to someone important like a boss, a manager, a parent, or someone influential in your environment, whatever that specific area is for you. But you want to be careful of the chain of command in general. But you want to be careful of the chain of command in general. So don't overstep your boundaries. Don't step on other people's toes. Respect the seniors or the other older people or the influential people. Respect that. You need to dig out information from them. So again, with the snake, you want to be careful. But this is important. You need to dig out this information so that you can inform your move better. Now the top row is a very bright combination. Thanks to the sun, we have the dog, sun, and book. The sun is one of the brightest cards of the deck. It has to do with success, victory, and fulfillment, and it shines its light on the whole portrait. So that's why I feel that you may want to indeed pursue this goal and probably that you will achieve it. The thing about the book on the other side of the sun is that you need to, again, shine light on this information. It's like it reveals what's in the book. You need to, maybe it's you coming out, maybe it's you revealing something about yourself. But again, with the snake, I need it to be on time. So you want to be careful of when and with whom you do this. Or the other possibility is that, again, it's about learning and growth and probably with regards to things that make you feel, passionate. So it feels like it turns you on type of thing, So you want to pursue these things. And also the sun and book help you dig out the information and to see with clarity, okay? And I think this is important. So again, it's important that you figure out something before you move down this path or achieve this goal. And this can be part of this indirect route. Like you first need to circle back, make sure you have the facts or the information or you know what to do. You need to inform your move. And this very bright sun here suggests that you will. When we T-cross it with the central column, okay, we do have a very positive message for you moving forward in this goal. The ship is about directions and adventure and venturing out. It has a lot of momentum. So I think it really confirms the idea that, yes, you should go ahead and do this. But with the snake, again, there is this indirect route and there is this idea that you might do this by yourself, to yourself, by virtue of the silence and quietness that is associated with the snake. And again, with the sun, we are looking for success. So the idea here is that you want to keep your eyes on the prize. And even if you have to go through this roundabout way to achieve your goal, still pursue it. Be careful, be calm, be aware all throughout. In the second row, we have the fish card. The fish is the money card. And with the snake and mountain, this is an interesting combination that suggests that you are going behind something in order to achieve a goal. So usually this would be like going behind someone's back or going, behind the scenes or something like that. And with the fish, this can be in relation to your financial matters. So perhaps the goal is in relation to some practical matter. It's also possible that you need to spend some money on this. And with that, see if you can negotiate your way, like don't overspend and be careful with money, work within your budget and be self-interested. Really, the snake is powerful in this sense. But I like to see the snake and fish together because it's usually someone who has really good business acumen, lots of understanding of money, very careful and things like that. And with the mountain, it's possible that if you need to spend on something, the mountain is telling you to postpone that. So again, this idea of the indirect route, maybe stepping back a little bit until you have more information before you spend on any of this. Be careful, Angelite group. It's working out for you, but you need to maneuver things, okay? And you need to be aware of the different elements that come into play. This can also refer to a job. The house can point to an office or a team, and the fish can bring up the idea of the job. So maybe you're moving into a job with some tricky people in there. So again, be friendly, be a good team player, do your part and everything, and keep your thoughts to yourself. Really, there's no need to reveal what you're up to or what you're doing. But I think, should you pursue it? I think, yes, you should pursue this thing, but it's about, your reading is really about how you pursue it. So I want you to keep this in mind. It's telling us that you want to do this in an indirect way. The bear, ship, and house is very exciting. Lots of movement here with the ship in the middle. The bear and ship can point to an important trip, and the house can be a place or, someone you're going to or some place, specific place you're visiting. And it doesn't have to mean travel per se, although we do have the mountain, and they're at a diagonal. So it's possible that this involves a trip. But even if it doesn't, it involves movement, activity, and probably some important events happening in this place here represented by the house. And what this place represents, again, depends on your specifics. So it can be the job for some of you, it can be home and family for others, it can be a certain group that you're part of. Anything that might tie into this thing that you're after and asking about whether you should pursue it. And also this bottom row is very clear about pursuing it. So the ship is the movement card. Like we said, it goes forward, it ventures out, and it's exciting. And both the house and the bear have a sense of achievement. So I think you're going to do well. The house has to do with building and success, and the bear is powerful and empowered. So I feel that, yes, you should pursue this. It's really just about your approach that you want to think about more carefully. Now, moving on to the columns, we have the dog, fish, and bear. So this is very much about money and big money. Usually the bear by itself can sometimes refer to money, wealth, income. And with the fish, that theme is highlighted, and the fish is the key card of money. So this can be about making more money or making more income or coming through some money. And the dog just represents you. The bear is an ambitious card. So again, it's another indicator of going for it. So I think the card suggests that yes, you want to go for it. And you want to also go for it in a big way. You might like to aim high and not shy away from wanting to achieve big things. So that is a great thing. The sun, snake, and ship we read. Briefly, we suggested that, yes, this is a good thing to pursue because of the ship and the sun. It's just really the snake that tells you that it might be a roundabout way or an indirect route. And it also reminds you to be calm and cautious, alert, calculating, and silent, just observant. Finally, we have the book, mountain, and house. So it's interesting that the mountain and house figure together because that normally means that you have a foothold abroad or a place abroad or maybe family abroad or some people abroad. With the book though, it's about a place that is not yet known. So perhaps you're moving into a new location. Like we said, this can be a physical thing that happens, a physical move, a physical transition. But it doesn't have to be literally physical. It can be a bit more metaphorical and suggest that you are creating a new environment for yourself, that you need to discover it, that you need to build it. All of these are possible. At the same time, the book and mountain can represent this idea of an obstacle, the idea that some things are not within reach, the information is not within reach, the knowledge is not something that you have yet. So this is also one of the things that you need to maneuver in order to get to your goal that is nicely represented by the house. And we see that this column T crosses the central row, and we suggested that the snake and mountain has to do with going about something, going around something. And maybe the book here suggests that this has to do with this knowledge and information, and it ties in nicely to the second diagonal. So there's quite a lot of coherence within the different lines of your portrait Angelite group. But again, I think this too points to success, and it ties into the bottom row through the house. So there is going to be, I think, a phase of where you feel like you're maybe climbing that mountain and you're not really getting anywhere. You're going to have to bear with that and be patient, as your snake suggests. But I do think that the bottom line, which is literally the bottom row of the portrait, is a successful outcome. And remember, we have the sun that shines bright all over your portrait. So overall, Angelite group, I think, yes, you should pursue this. This is aligned with your goals. It makes sense. But the way you want to approach this is tricky. You need to be aware that other people are playing to win, that not everything is clear, and you're going to need to fish out this information or this knowledge that's going to help you move forward. You're going to have to maneuver your way around. You're going to have to be diplomatic all throughout, and then you'll get on the other side of it. So overall, it is supportive in answering your question. It is just really highlighting the approach to achieving this. So that is actually really helpful, and I hope you feel that it is, Angelite group. I really appreciate the advice of the cards, because maybe, as you've heard me say a million times, if it's not something you can do about it, then what's the point of doing a reading? So let me know how you like these thoughts and ideas, Angelite group. I'm really looking forward to reading them. And until we meet again, very best of luck with this venture. I'm looking forward to our next reading together. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, Lapis group, here we are with your reading and your cards and this lovely stone. And I've got the 9 cards that I initially dealt out. I'm going to deal them out into your portrait, and we're going to find out whether you should go ahead and do this thing or not. Okay, Lapis group, I have to say a really interesting spread. Maybe you're thinking the answer is obvious because of the mouse at the top and the coffin at the bottom. I'm not so sure. I think there can be a good reason why you should pursue this. It's just that there are some things that you need to be aware of. But I'm going to park this thought for now. Instead, I feel that this portrait needs to be built from the ground up, meaning from the details into the bigger picture, not the other way around. So the mouse as your cover card is really interesting because it is a card that is, yes, generally negative. It points to doubts and mistrust and glitches and speed bumps and things going wrong here and there, losses, lies, and things like that. But the mouse is also really, really good with detail and being alert and paying attention to all of these things that could go wrong, whether they're big or small. If you leave the mouse unchecked, it would, amount to big losses. But the mouse really tells you to pay attention to the details so that it doesn't add up to bigger problems. So to see it as your cover card gives you the main advice. So you really want to pay attention to the detail for this one. The rider in the middle here is actually a really good card for pursuing anything. It is a card of movement. It has to do with moving towards objectives, going for it. It can involve some trips and travel, but it's really the card of going after your goals. So seeing it in the center of your portrait really highlights the idea that, yes, you might want to actually go for this. And on top of that, we have the star in the portrait, which is a card of wish fulfillment. So I think that, yes, you may want to pursue it, but you want to pay attention to the details as you move forward. So in this first diagonal, we have the garden on the other side of the rider. And the garden points to a place. It's usually a public place. It has to do with a community, society, a group of people, the market at large. And maybe what you're doing here is you are going into a certain environment. Maybe you're selling something. Maybe you want to promote yourself in certain ways. Maybe you want to meet new people, depending on what your specific goal is. So this garden brings the idea of community. And with the rider, it's very much a good idea to go ahead and get involved. The thing about the mouse at the top here is that you might want to go slow, and you might want to go with more awareness. So sometimes, more likely, oftentimes, there are characters that are not trustworthy, that are not interested in, who you are genuinely and things like that. So it's just really about having a balanced mindset. Yes, have that momentum and pursue this goal, go for it, get involved, but be aware that you want to balance this out with possible downsides, so it's really about balancing the picture. The bird, rider, and tower can suggest that there is news that comes through because each of the bird and rider carries a sense of news. So when they come together, this theme is highlighted. And the tower can point to an announcement or to official matters. Maybe you're working through some administration, some legal issues here. And the thing about it is that and so with the bird and rider, you might want to pursue this and follow up on the matter. It's also possible that the tower points to something that relates to the past. Maybe there is an issue that has to do with a past situation, and that is what you are pursuing. And if that's the case, I think you want to pursue it. And also, the bird is pretty vocal. So it asks you to ask questions, to negotiate, to debate, discuss, really taking it out there. And, it works really well with the garden because the garden being a social card, it involves reaching out and asking questions and discussing and debating. And the rider is also supportive of that. So the tower can take on these different meanings. I think the main one might be something more official. And the tower can also refer to a job environment because it's associated with businesses and corporations and things like that. It can also refer to an expert or consultant or someone senior whom you want to consult for ideas. So this might be a really good idea to tap into someone's expertise before you actually go down this route or as you pursue this goal. So I think this would tie in well with the mouse. And let's read the mouse, cross and tower. So both of these cards are a bit challenging. The cross is a bit of a card of burdens and tough decisions. And you want to keep in mind that what you're doing now is going to affect the long term. So be sure you weigh things out. I would also say that as you make this decision, you want to focus on the details because of your mouse. It might not be easy. Maybe it's a tough choice. Maybe you have to make some sacrifices. And if you need someone's input, like expert input into this, then go ahead and pursue it through the tower. If the tower represents the past, which is also a possibility depending on your specific situation, you will need to let go of it. I think the mouse and cross is pretty clear about letting it go and just really, it seems that it didn't work out and you might want to let this go now. You don't need to try beating a dead horse and learn the lessons and move on. And when I T-cross this row with the central column, we are definitely looking at an ending. The rider and coffin points to the end of the road, the end of an objective, the end of a path. And with the cross here, because it's a bit burdensome and challenging, it's likely telling you that you have to let go. Maybe possibly you don't want to let it go, but you know that you have to. The cross does bring this idea of having to. It has that burden on it. So you have to let it go at that point. But what's nice is what we're going to see here in this column, some wish fulfillment coming through here. At the same time, if this isn't about letting something go or it's about making a decision, I would say the rider and coffin is definitely asking you to wait. So don't move forward until you know better, until you've got the information, until you've consulted, until you've done whatever thing you need to pursue through the tower, whether it's something legal, administrative, or that person who has experience and you can talk to, okay? The rider and coffin very clear about putting things on hold, and the cross really advising you to, to take that seriously. Now, the central row is really positive. We have the moon, rider, and star. And I think what you get here is some kind of offer, an invitation that is exactly what you want. And of course, it has to do with pursuing that goal of yours and going after it. It's very, very encouraging in this regard. It is the central row. It T-crosses the central column. So it's quite a powerful message here. And the cards are just so beautiful. So I see here that you can achieve this goal. You definitely can, okay? And you're advised to. So this is an important message coming through the portrait in answer to our specific question. So yes, go for it. You're probably going to achieve your goal. And the moon is a beautiful card. It has to do with beauty, attraction. It's the gentle. It has such a beautiful indication in Lenormand, very different from the tarot. And with the rider and star, we see that, you're just really in the flow in pursuing this. So it's just that there's a few things around it in order to pursue it. But once you're in the flow, you're gonna achieve this. In the bottom row, we have the bird, coffin, and garden. Very, very interesting. The idea of letting go of the environment is very clearly coming through here. The bird and coffin is interesting because I think it has to do with taking a step back and as opposed to speaking and talking, which is normally associated with the bird, the coffin comes right next to it, and right after it's like, stop, don't talk, and with the garden here, it has to do with a certain group. So I would say you need to be, again, observant. Maybe you need to move away from a certain environment. Maybe it's a toxic environment. Maybe it's, maybe you've outgrown it. Maybe it's totally fine, but you've just outgrown it. And so it's important here that you be selective about which people, groups, environments are going to be supportive of this goal of yours and which ones aren't. And I think because of this whole situation here that we saw in the top row, central column, and now bottom row, I think that there's something that you need to let go of, and I'm really getting a feeling that this has to do with what could be in the way of you achieving your potential. So I think you've outgrown something, Lapis group, and maybe it's time to move on. And part of moving on is, yes, going after this thing you have in mind. And part of the process is leaving behind certain people, places, environments, attitudes, any number of these. Again, if this is not about a specific, social environment or anything like that, it can, again, advise you to postpone making a move until you know better, okay? So, again, strategizing, making sure you've got the right information, focusing on the long term, making sure what you're going to do aligns with your long term, and just being sure that all of this is fitting before you move forward. The mouse, moon, and bird, I think this cautions you about certain conversations. The bird brings out the dark side of the moon, and so does the mouse. So we have two cards here that are, that are a bit iffy. They will bring out the darker side of the moon. So there are shady characters, let's say, and not everything is clear, not everything is out on the surface, and you need to be aware of that. I have to also wonder if this isn't something that affects you internally. Maybe you're not fully aware of what you want. Maybe you're not fully aware of what the goal is. So I think you need to stop and really think about what you're after, what you want to do, because this thing that you're pursuing might not be what you think you're pursuing. I think this can be a pretty helpful insight coming through your portrait. So think about this. Is what you are pursuing really what you want to pursue? Will it bring you the results that you really do? And so this is where you could be changing some things, taking a bit of a break from moving forward or stopping things until you are actually clearer about this. And we've read the central column, and finally this beautiful column on the right. And it's so nice to see it on the right because, as you know, I read from left to right. So the earlier phases of the story are on the left and the later ones are on the right. And so the later ones tend to be associated with outcomes. The Tower, Star, and Garden is lovely. It has to do with all-around success for the long term. It's also a wonderful card of healing and appreciation. And with the Tower here, you could really reach the top. I mean, it is such a beautiful card. And with the Garden, you could achieve recognition, even fame, and things like that. So it has a lot of potential. I really think you should go for this Lapis group. I think this is what the cards are telling us. And, the star T crosses the central row here. But you need to be clear about what exactly you're pursuing. And you also want to let go of anything that is past its sell-by date, that is no longer part of this. And also to be aware that there can be some environments or some people that you need to manage, let's say. Maybe not be so revealing about your intentions to them. So be selective in this regard. But overall, I think you should pursue this. And I really think this can materialize really well for you. So some beautiful thoughts here, I think, Lapis group. Let me know what you think. Leave me your comments. I'm really looking forward to reading them. Very best of luck with this venture. Many blessings on it, really. Lots of beautiful energies coming through despite some challenges. Let me know how it plays out. And until we meet again, thank you so much for watching and take very good care of yourself. Okay, Brandberg group, here we are with your cards and your reading with your stone here on the side. And I have the 9 cards that I initially dealt. Remember, we are looking at whether or not you should go ahead and do this thing or undertake this venture. I'm just going to deal out the cards in the order that I dealt them in. Let's go ahead and find out what you should do about this. Okay, Brandberg group, these are some pretty amazing cards for you. All 4 readings for this picker card turned out to be really interesting. We have the Clover as your cover card. This is one of the luckiest cards of the deck. There's no doubt about that. We also have the beautiful flowers. We have the heart and the stork. These are all exciting cards. We also have the Ring, which is a card of relationships, the heart as well, and the Man. And we have the Scythe. So that is really interesting in the context of the Ring. So these are, as it stands, very interesting cards. But on top of that, we have the Fox right in the middle of your portrait. And the Fox is a pretty tricky card. It's a bit like the Snake. It's not a transparent character. You could be half-hearted about this, and you have maybe some doubts. I am inclined to think, Brandberg, that maybe you should not do this. Maybe there's something different that you should be doing. Maybe something completely different. And that making that change will actually be really, really good for you. It's also possible that you have a gut instinct that you shouldn't do this or not as it is exactly. And I think you should follow that instinct. We also have the relationship element. This comes into play. As we weave the cards, we're going to see how it comes into play. So let's go ahead and put all of these lines together. In the first diagonal, we have the Clover, Fox, and Stork. So the Fox is normally a card that is tricky. It's associated with the trickster, the fraudster, someone who lays a trap. It's associated with the trap itself. And as a person, as a character, it points to someone who is not transparent and who is half-hearted about the situation. But it's really nice to see the Clover here because it sort of tells us that if you have doubts, you're right to have them. When we have the clover with the clouds, for example, it tells us that we shouldn't doubt our thoughts, that we are thinking in negative ways when we shouldn't. And I feel that in the context here, something similar could be coming through the clover and the fox. If you're having suspicions and you're having doubts, you want to heed that warning. And the stork on the other side of the fox is the card of change and of letting go, releasing yourself. So don't feel like you have to do this. You don't have to do this. Maybe it's not the way you want to do it. Maybe it's not exactly how it fits for you. Maybe you need to make changes in it before you move forward. And I think this can be a key message that comes through your portrait. We have the man-fox heart. So this is clearly highlighting a person. I mean, there's not really any two ways about it. So this situation of yours can involve a person, or it can be straight up about this person. And it really doesn't matter if you're the man, the woman, they're the man, the woman. It doesn't matter. I've said that many times. The fox and heart is someone who is half-hearted, like really in a very direct way. And it's this person who is half-hearted. So he's not really into this. Maybe it's about a relationship with you, in which case he's not really into you. He pretends to. You know, this is someone who goes through the motions, pretends, and also maybe is flattering, but doesn't really mean it. That type of character is what we're talking about. And I think you feel that. I think you feel that this is how this other person feels. In another sense, I can't dismiss it. I don't think it is, but it's still a possibility. Maybe you feel half-hearted about this person. Maybe it's mutual. Maybe you feel that this can't really move forward. Maybe this thing that you're pursuing involves this person and you have doubts about this character and you're like, no, I don't really want to do this. I want to do the bigger goal, but with this person or what this person is offering or proposing or however they are in this, however they fit in your situation, you're not really comfortable with it. You have doubts about it. And you know what? I think you should really go with your feeling. Your clover tells us all, go with your feeling. And the stork is really a card of change. So I feel that you might want to shift something around before moving forward with this goal, or maybe get this person out of the picture as you pursue this goal, or on top of that, maybe just not do it at all because of the doubts that you're having, and something else is going to come into play. The clover letter and heart is wonderful news. It makes you happy. It's probably what you want, but I'm not going to stop here. I want to tie this into the central column because we have the letter fox and ring. So with the fox here, it throws things off a little bit. It is what you want, but there is this element of doubt that comes into the play. And so you want this, but you're having doubts. And I really feel that you need to go with your doubts. You need to heed that call. You need to answer to that intuition and, use it at least to figure out how you're going to go ahead and do this if you do it. In another sense, I have to say, Brandberg Group, that sometimes the fox can be associated with work, jobs. Maybe it's a customer, maybe it's a colleague or an employee. And with the letter fox and ring, there can be a job offer. Okay. And if that's the case, then it works out really, really well for you. The clover letter and heart means that this is the offer that you want. It ties into the central column. It is what you want. And if that's the case, then yes, you're probably going to move forward with it. You're going to maybe leave your present job and move into a new one. That is very, very possible coming through the cards. And maybe it is this man who enables that job. Okay, because next to the fox, he could be the person who has is close to the decision making, or perhaps he's the customer that brings you this opportunity, this project. So in that sense, I would say the fox takes on a different meaning, and it's very, very positive. But it's going to depend on your specifics, and we're going to read the cards in a way that is flexible for a range of scenarios. The flowers, fox, and scythe is definitely someone who is false to your face. This is someone who maybe, is a charmer. They're sweet talkers, very much through the fox and flowers. And with the scythe, I'm saying you need to break away from this person, okay? Don't buy into their, their sales pitch or, the way they compliment and the way they charm you. Like you see them for who they are. I really think that because the clover covers you, I don't think this is going to get to you. You're going to be okay. And you're going to make a sharp break. Now, again, if this has to do with the job, you get this wonderful offer and you end up making a change. And we see the heart, scythe, and stork here is a radical change, you know? So the stork and scythe is definitely breaking out, breaking away. Maybe with the heart here, because it's close to the scythe, it can be, you know, maybe it's not easy for you. There's a bit of a heartbreak in the process, but you need to free yourself and embrace this opportunity. That's if it's in the context of work. Otherwise, you will need to break someone's heart. And we see that as these two lines T cross each other, you know, this character here who's not into this, okay, he's a pretender, half-hearted, etc. You need to get out of this. So no, don't pursue it. I would say get out of it. And you know that you need to get out of it, and you know that you have that feeling in you. You need to embrace that feeling and go with it. That's what's going to bring you your success and your luck. In the bottom row, we have the man, ring, and stork. So here we're looking at a change in the relationship. So this is a connection, an important connection that you have. And with the stork here, you are shifting things around. So maybe you're not straight up leaving this person, but you need to change things around because how this person is fitting in your life with regards to your goals is not really working for you, and you have that feeling that you need to respect and honor, and so you're going to make changes to this relationship. Changes are ahead. In the job sense, this is a change of job, so this can be your employer in a literal or in a metaphorical sense. And you could be releasing yourself from this involvement because the ring is not only about a relationship, but it's also about commitments. So definitely a change in the status quo is coming up for you, Brandberg Group. And I have to say that it's possible that changes, that radical changes are ahead. The clover, flowers, and man is a lovely combination. It brings lots of good coming through this person. But again, I don't want to stop here because I want to T-cross it with the central row, which has the fox and scythe. So I feel that when we add this into the picture, it changes a little bit, you know, all of this rosy stuff that we see through the clover and flowers. And instead, it tells us that there's a bit more here, that this is someone who is, you know, really a charmer, like we said. But, you know, I don't think they are hurtful. I don't think they are mean. Or anything like that. They're just, you know, they sort of, you know, they pretend, they play along and things like that. And you're not, you know, you appreciate that, but you want a bit more commitment. And so you're going to make that change. And we read the letter fox and ring, an interesting combination, great for the job, but for relationships, it's a bit trickier. And we also read the heart, scythe, and stork. So overall, Brandberg Group, you have a really portrait here. So overall, Brandberg Group, this is a really interesting portrait for you in answering this question. When it comes to job matters, it looks like you will get the job that you want. And so should you go for that new job? The answer is yes. You want to make a job change because it seems that it's going to free you, release you. I think it will breathe some fresh energy into your life, I feel. But when it comes to relationships, it's a bit different. You need to make a change away from that relationship, even though they have lots of positive aspects and they're kind, etc. They're not 100% in this, and I think you feel it. A key message also that's coming through for you, Brandberg Group, is that I think you already know the answer. The clover really, as your cover card, tells us this. I think you know what you need to do. I think you know whether or not you should go ahead with this. And I really want you to honor your intuition. I feel that as it stands, you're not feeling it, and so you're having doubts, and you know that, and I want you to honor that. But if you have another strong feeling, then also consider that feeling and consider it in light of these messages, but also any inner wisdom that you have within you, which I'm sure you have plenty. We all do. So this is a lucky turn of events, okay? I think either way, whether this is a new job or a new customer or a new situation, or if it's about releasing a funny character, I think this is going to be a turn of events that maybe it comes with a bit of a heartache because of maybe you didn't want it to turn out this way or you didn't want to be so sharp in this change, but I think it can be really releasing. So to perhaps make it easier for you, there could be a hint that we can add to all of this, is that you want to look for the path that feels relieving. If you feel like something has gone off your shoulders, then that is probably the best way to go. That is probably the path that you should do. So a very interesting portrait again, Brandberg group. I'm really looking forward to your thoughts and comments about this. Let me know what your context was, what was the scenario you were playing through, and leave me your thoughts and comments. So very best of luck with it again. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am so looking forward to our next reading together. And until then, take very good care of yourself. And thank you so much for watching.